Hello everyone, another video here on the channel. I asked those who aren't subscribed yet if you could please subscribe. Please, if you enjoy the content, leave a like and feel free to use the comment section. Today's topic is they're coming back to Tinder when it first appeared. At the end of 2012, a dating platform, a flirting app, a kind of human menu. It only really peaked here in Brazil in 2014. In 2013, it was a huge hit in the United States. Then people started hearing about it. There were articles on news portals. People began downloading it, and it had its boom here in Brazil in 2014. In 2015, people were still using it a lot, but at that time, practically every single person, regardless of looks, social status, intelligence, whatever, pretty much every single man and woman ended up downloading Tinder to see what that tool was all about. Some people got addicted with this idea that you could have a menu right there, seeing lots of women, and women could find that outstanding man they always dreamed of anyway. Others really just got into it for casual sex. There was a bit of everything on Tinder. I've even seen marriages happen because of Tinder, and they're actually lasting, okay? Just as a side note, to the surprise of many, right? So far, right? So Tinder was that famous place where you could find everything, right? Back in 2014, 2015, many women, especially the most attractive ones, quickly abandoned Tinder back in 2014, 2015 because it became a tool that really stigmatized something that in society they don't want to show that they are, right? The so-called flings, right? In practice, when a woman is faced with a really outstanding guy, what we always call the super alpha, she'll do anything for this guy. But to society, to her coworkers, to people at college, to other women, to her family, she doesn't project the image of someone who has casual sex or flings or anything like that, no matter how committed to feminism society may be. If she's outside those woke environments and out of the super alpha's bedroom, the woman will try to present herself as conservatively as possible, even if she hates conservatism. That's what actually happens. So Tinder rose very quickly and also fell very quickly because many women felt, in a way, used there on Tinder. They can't show society that they're into casual sex or anything like that, so they quickly left. So in the end, only more average and unattractive women were left there on Tinder, right? In fact, Tinder around 2016, 2017 had already become a joke, right? People would say, "Oh, Tinder women, right? Picking up Tinder leftovers or something like that, right?" It's like it's just one step above Badu, right? Because Badu is the underworld's basement, right? Of the internet, right? The basement of the underworld, of the underground, rock bottom, right? So Tinder ended up with a slightly better image there, right? One funny thing about Tinder is that it was really hard to delete your account, right? So even back in 2015, when the most attractive women were starting to leave, a lot of guys were still seeing many beautiful women on Tinder. But those women hadn't checked Tinder in 6 or 7 months already because you had to go to the website. There was no way to delete it. About the app, it's like deleting Instagram. You can't delete Instagram from the app on your phone, right? You have to go to the website to delete it. Well, at least up until 2021. When I'm recording this video, that's how it is. Who knows, maybe in the future someone will watch this video and say it's not like that anymore. Around mid 2021, August to be specific. So why are women going back to an app that they themselves only used for a short time, then mocked and said they'd never return to? Just a note, in the United States, the exodus of the most attractive women took longer than here in Brazil, okay? Here in Brazil, Tinder became a joke much faster than in the United States, alright? So why are women coming back now in 2021 to Tinder? Well, that's a really easy question to answer, right? There's just one word, stagnation, right? So years have passed since Tinder's peak, 7 years, right? So women who were 23 or 24 back then are now 30 or 31, right? And they realize they didn't get the dream boyfriend, the dream husband, or anything like that, right? Anyway, in the meantime, maybe some of them had a long-term relationship that ended, others just in casual relationships, and now, like the overwhelming majority of women, they want to get married. They do want to get married, even though they preach anti-marriage, pro-solitude rhetoric and all that. In practice, it's different. You just have to, like, if you want to disprove all the supposed lack of neediness in women when they claim they're not needy, that they have self-love, that they're totally fine, just go on Instagram on a Sunday night. If you go there around 8:30 at night, that's when Fantastico starts, right? Which is a it's an iconic show for Brazilian depression, having to work the next day all the way until midnight. You'll only see posts about God and self-love and value yourself and stay strong. and shamanism, astrology, and a good week ahead, etc. You can just see the discouragement they're feeling, and they have to externalize it as if it were motivation. And everyone knows they're completely lonely, depressed, and anxious. That I don't. That's something obvious. It's not a criticism. It's not a personal opinion of mine. Anyone who denies that is denying reality. So, when we consider this profound sense of deep depression and this growing epidemic of female loneliness that is currently spreading across the landscape in various dark and heavy shades, ultra viral at a galloping pace, they have to go back somewhere. They're seeing that on Instagram the competition is way too fierce. There are too many young, pretty girls, too many butts to compete with, too many perfect photos, too many women competing. Anyway, they have to somehow they have to get back in the game. And it's that old story. They're going back to the plate they spat in because things have dried up. Facebook has turned into a hangout for old guys who hate Bolsonaro and who love Bolsonaro. Any kind of flirting or anything like that is over there anyway. It's just when it comes to men and women on Facebook, that's been dead for a long time. It's just become a place for people to show off their opinions, right? Going out to clubs, going out to bars isn't catching anything anymore either. The men too, the ones who send little notes, the ones who chase after them, it's only low value men that they don't want, right? Or sometimes when they go out to a more upscale place, right? They end up being used by some guy here and there who just wants to relieve some sexual tension. Those are the players who sleep around, right? So trying to go back to that dynamic of meeting someone like on the street, it's not working. Facebook isn't working. On Instagram, the competition is really tough, right? And there are very few standout wealthy men on Instagram, right? And the ones who are there aren't interested in any kind of relationship, not even the mid-level or upper middle level guys. They're also not interested in anything anymore. You have to go back to Tinder, right? Because on Tinder, there's still that thing of matching, right? Of having a crush, which is still very, that really affects the female imagination, okay? There are trigger words, images, sounds, smells. The female imagination is something extremely rich, okay? When I say rich, I don't mean it's something, I mean noble in the sense of something elevated, culturally speaking, right? It's rich in the sense of being vast. It's grand, which means it can include things that will refer to old fashioned chivalry, old school romance, even the current junk on Netflix about couples, Winderson, people like that, and words that pop up that operators from the underworld throw onto social media and they keep repeating cringe girl, that kind of thing, crush boy, magic, which has fallen out of use lately, but anyway. So the female imagination is something that's very easy to activate. Anyone who understands a bit of linguistics and is a little above average knows that men can very easily deceive women who go out looking for casual sex, because the older they get, the more needy they become. Anyway, this is not a personal opinion. This isn't a criticism or anything. It's not a moral judgment. It's just a fact, right? This reality is right out in the open. We're just repeating it here. No one owns the truth. We're just transmitters of it. So Tinder, as much as it's an app made for casual sex and this human menuization, right? Or I'm making up a word here now. It still has this crush aspect, right? So much so that if you look at Tinder profiles, there's a channel I recommend to you all. It's really good. It's called, I think many here are subscribed or at least should be subscribed. There. It's also called Okay a Vida. What is life? I think the guy's name is Davi, right? He's from Minas. He's really funny, very smart, very sarcastic. He shows what women on Tinder are like. There's another one called Case, which is great because people post all sorts of Tinder gems there, my god. So if you look at women's Tinder bios, they're like, oh, I want to meet someone from here on this app, right? It's independent. I don't know what if it's for casual sex, don't even bother liking. Like trying to give off the impression that they're looking for something serious, right? And the men don't care at all. Then here's the thing, okay? Even when they go back to Tinder already jaded, having been around after 30, they're still picky, okay? A report came out from Tinder itself, from their tech team, showing that women only like 5% of men, okay? And men like 80% of women. People might say, oh, guys are still simps, for crying out loud, men will always save the day. In the end, things will work out. There won't be a place for the women left behind. I disagree, okay? Because I know a lot about this. There are a lot of Tinder vultures, guys who like everything, total scavengers. But ask yourself this: do these guys actually want to date? Just because a guy is a simp when it comes to hooking up, that he humiliates himself a bit to get some sex, doesn't mean he's going to commit. Take this woman out holding hands, meet her parents, no way. And that's what women want. They want a boyfriend. They want to show society that they're with someone even if they'll never admit it. oh, that's not true, we're independent and whatever anyway. But in practice, that's not the case. It's very rare to see a woman who is detached in theory and in practice. As I've already said here in my first and second videos, I've only met one so far who really matches what she preaches in theory, at least when it comes to emotional neediness. She really is a detached girl. But anyway, getting back to why they're returning to Tinder, so as not to stray too far from the topic, the reason is exactly this. They didn't get anything during that gap between when they left Tinder after mocking it in 2014, 2015, and now in 2021, which is where we are now, and now they're trying again. They're basically sending the goalkeeper into the box, you know? It's like sending the goalkeeper into the box is an expression I really wish would catch on, you know? Which is when women, yeah, they're around 30, 32 years old, right? It's just like those soccer teams that when they're trying to score a goal at 47 minutes into the game and there's a corner kick, and they even send the goalkeeper into the box to see if they can tie the game, right? So women are already sending the goalkeeper into the box with everything they've got, okay? And now they're subjecting themselves to that. I know wonderful women who are going back to Tinder. Of course, at 30, 31 years old, you're not going to see very beautiful women at 22, 23 on Tinder, right? Because those ones are being spoiled and catered to by the super alphas of Brazil, right? Obviously, the super alphas, they take advantage of this Leonardo DiCaprio effect. They have this power, right? The power to always be renewing with younger women, just like Leonardo DiCaprio. So obviously, they're not going to be chasing after those women who are 30 or 32, right? And the ones who are 30 or 32, since they're looking for a serious relationship, monogamy, they're tired of the promiscuous life and being single, of parties and clubs, right? They're coming back to Tinder in full force. So I know a lot of women who are still attractive, like I said before, those old BMWs, right? Those women who still preserve much of their youth, their beauty, and have had cosmetic procedures, even though they're getting older, they're still a BMW. These are women who have taken care of themselves in terms of looks, diet, going to the gym, and all that, right? But anyway, time spares no one, right? This kind of artifice, it just gives a, it just delays, just slows down the process of losing their looks, right? But time ends up sparing no one, right? So men have it really tough until they're 30, unless you were born really rich, right? Because a man has no value at all until he's 30, right? And those who don't make money continue to have no value until they die, right? But until 30, practically 95% of men in Brazil live in a sexual desert while women live in abundance, right? And then things get reversed, right? Afterwards, she's the one who has to chase after Tinder. She's the one who will have to be chosen for marriage, for a relationship, you know? For casual sex, a woman will always have it, okay? It's just that this isn't interesting for her. Casual sex is only good for men, right? Because it relieves the pressure of having to commit to a relationship, since modern dating is extremely annoying as hell lately, right? So men want to avoid that at all costs. If he has the option of casual sex, just Tinder with these women, the good looking guys who are 30, 32 years old who are still around, right? Of course, there are going to be a lot of unattractive women there too who are just lost, just going with the flow. But honestly, I'm impressed. I'm shocked. I know women who, I mean, women from my own social circle who at 25, 24 years old were dating a guy with a Lamborghini. That's right, a Lamborghini, okay? Not an Audi, not a BMW, no. We're talking about a car worth 7 figures, right? Yeah, and she had to go back to Tinder, right? This woman. And she was even an international model, and some of my friends matched with her on Tinder, you know. And I saw her, and now she's dating guys with a little goal, okay? I'm not looking down on anyone who has a goal. The ones who look down are them, right? They're the ones who look down on guys with regular cars. There's even a saying among women about that. So, to try to ridicule men, they say, oh, the guy thinks he's all that just because he has a paleo, or something like that. The women even started using this catchphrase that one of those feminists posted, some video or something like that. So, basically, women are having to lower their standards to such a point that for them it's like death. Why? Because the super alphas already used them when they were 24 or 25 years old. If they had gotten into a serious relationship with a guy at their level or just a little above, which is what I always say here, just a bit of a resume, there's nothing wrong with that. A woman who's a 7 being with a guy who's a 7.5 or 8 at most, if they're more attractive, they'd be happy today, and both would have built a nice life together. They'd be traveling or having kids anyway. But no, the woman who's a 7 wants a guy who's a 15, not even a 10. Because who's after these guys? The 4s and 5s are after the 10s. So it's a complete escape from reality, okay? Of those women who are single nowadays, yeah. So more and more you'll see women going back to Tinder because Tinder is the only refuge left. It's the hope for a crush, the hope for the perfect match. Even though the app is made for hookups, there's still this more romantic vibe to it, right? So it's like this from north to south of Brazil, okay? I haven't used Tinder since 2016. It's been 5.5 years. Since the very beginning of 2016, I haven't used Tinder, but I get a lot of screenshots from friends and other guys. Also, I watch a lot of channels, but I'm getting a lot. Some friends of mine are sending me a ton, okay? In several states across Brazil, Paraná, São Paulo, Minas Gerais, Santa Catarina, and so on, right? There are women showing up there who honestly you can tell they're only there because they've crossed the 30 mark and they're really beautiful women, you know? So they're out there, okay? And it's going to increase, all right? And it's going to increase because the women who are on Tinder now are the ones born in 1990, 1989, 1991 at the latest, okay? In the coming years, those born in 92, 93, 94, 95 will get on this boat too because there won't be a rich husband for everyone, all right? Just to remind you, whenever I talk about the rich husband thing, it's not that women can't make money. They can, even if they make 1,000,000 reais a month, their hypergamy doesn't go down. It's not just to support themselves that they want it. The rich husband is the dream of the perfect marriage. They want to live like J.A. Locke to marry someone like Gustavo Lima, guys like that. For us men, you might say, man, you're exaggerating. It's not that I'm exaggerating. For us, it's a ridiculous thing, wanting to base your life on these celebrities, minor celebrities, and Instagram. But for them, it's not. They really romanticize this. It's something like the human mind, which is logical, rational, and much more grounded, much more down to earth, just can't understand these oddities. But the female mind, unfortunately, the female imagination is contaminated because of this. So, to wrap up the video, okay? More and more women, even more attractive ones over 30 on Tinder, will go back to what they once ridiculed, okay? And don't be surprised to see so many beautiful, single, and desperate women with profiles trying to project an anti casual sex image from now on for those who use Tinder, alright? A big hug to everyone.